Checking in with international headlines now, the Turkish president has apologized for the death of a Russian pilot whose jet was downed over Syria in November last year. He also added that Erdogan expressed his desire to improve relations between the two countries. The Russian jet was downed by Turkish air forces while maneuvering near the Turkish-Syrian border. Erdogan's apology today represents a very sharp turnaround from what he said initially, including that his country had nothing to be sorry for. RT's Alexei Rashevsky recalls the reactions from all sides.
Emotions were running high on November 24th last year when the Russian Su-24 military jet was gunned down by the Turkish Air Force. Russia's president pulled no punches and described the act as totally inexplicable, treacherous stab in the back from those we believe to be our partners and allies in the fight against terror. It's again common sense and international law, said Vladimir Putin back then. Just a day later, Russia's foreign minister Sergei Lavrov came with a calculated statement in an attempt to lower the tension.
We are not planning to start a war with Turkey. Our attitude towards the Turkish nation hasn't changed. We have questions about the actions of the current Turkish leadership.
Denial dominated the Turkish response. First, in an interview to the France 24 news network, President Erdogan said that the Air Force did not know this was a Russian jet and they would have acted differently if they did, but still praised them for defending the Turkish airspace. Later, interviewed by the CNN, Erdogan said that he saw no fault in his country's actions and saw no need to apologize, actually saying that it was the Russians who needed to apologize for what he called the violation of rules of engagement. That's despite Moscow providing data that the downed jet crossed into Turkey for only 17 seconds and that the survived co-pilot insisted there was no warning from the Turkish Air Force before the plane was hit. The overall sentiment of Turkey protecting itself, although nobody could say from what they were defending from, was picked up in Washington and Brussels. The US President, the State Department, and NATO Secretary General all acknowledged they knew little what happened, yet said Turkey did the right thing.
Turkey, like every country, has a right to defend its territory and its airspace. I think it's very important right now for us to make sure that both the Russians and the Turks are talking to each other, find out exactly what happened.
You're saying Turkey has the right to defend itself. President Obama said the same thing. What defense are you talking about? Does anyone think Russia was going to attack Turkey?
Again, I mean,
Do you think so?
Look, I don't want to parse out this incident. I've said very clearly that we don't know all the facts yet. So for me to speak categorically about what happened is, frankly, would be irresponsible.
Not everyone agreed, though. A highly decorated former U.S. Army general said this on Fox News Live show.
So I don't really trust President Erdogan and what he's doing.
Okay.
I think we have to be very, very cautious on this. Yep. I think it was an overly aggressive maneuver.
Okay.
And as a NORAD region commander, we would not use these kind of rules of engagement. That had to be pre-planned.
Okay.
That airplane wasn't over Turkish territory long enough.
Long enough. Okay.
7 months since the downing of that jet, with Erdogan now himself admitting it was a mistake and asking for an apology, it'll be interesting to see whether any other commentators would also retract on their comments made back in November. Alexei Rashevsky, RT, reporting from Washington, D.C.